Hello everybody, this is Leo Geo2 Gonzalez, your interviewer for tonight, and welcome to Ponage Television. And with me here at the PTV studio, I have Robin Walker, one of the programmers and designers for Valve over the last 9 years, as well as one of the creators for the original and the current Team Fortress. We will be taking a couple of your questions from our IRC channel at poundponage.tv on GameSurgeIRC.net, or irc.gamesurge.net, or you can use the chat applet at the top left side of your browser. Well, I'd like to welcome you, Robin, to our studio, and I must say that it is truly an honor to be speaking with you here tonight.
Hey, Leo, it's good to be here, thanks.
Thanks. All right, we're just going to go right to the questions. Well, right off the bat, how much, if any, training did the Valve team go through for this match? You guys are playing some of the top players in the world, and that's really going to make you a bit nervous.
We haven't done a sort of a training for this specific match, I guess. We've been playing in a game developer only TF2 tournament for the last few months actually, which has been a lot of fun, but I somewhat suspect it's not the sort of training we need to be facing up against the guys we're playing tonight.
Well, how much of an advantage do you think being a developer gives you over 20ID and the experiment?
I mean, we sort of understand and know all the underlying, math that's going on with damage and all kinds of other stuff like that, I guess, which probably gives us a bit of a chance. But, these guys will have played a ton, so they probably understand just as much of that as well. But, I'd say that the real advantage it gives us is that we write the code, so we can, we can pretty much cheat as much as we like. And if at the end of the night, it doesn't work out too well, we might just ban all their Steam accounts.
Cheating? So then what's the Valve strategy going to be for tonight's match? Are you going to bust out some developer hacks, no clip, possibly an aimbot, little down dirty things going on?
No, I don't think we're gonna do that sort of stuff. We had a lot of fun doing that back in the Half-Life 2 CTF match we did a couple of years ago. But I think tonight we're planning to hopefully play a good game and sort of see what TF is like at the sort of highest level. And that's sort of really the reason why we wanted to do this in the first place. When you guys sort of started the tournament, we felt like this was a way we could get a sort of a bit of a window into how the top level guys are playing, which is really valuable for us when it comes to designing the game. As we continue to do the ongoing support work for TF2 and so on, we really want to make sure we're supporting what a game that these guys want to play, and the best way we can do that is to get a really good sort of sense of how they play it. And I don't think there's any way we can get a better sense of how they play it than going out there and playing them at it.
Alright, well, on to some more questions. We got over here, the cartoon style graphics of Team Fortress 2 are very distinct and work very well with the gameplay. Obviously, this took some conceptualization on your part. Can you tell us what really went into this process?
That's was a long process. We sort of had the game up and running a long time ago and were able to play it a bunch, and we had a sort of a very abstract sort of art at that time, so we could focus just on the gameplay. And then once we had the gameplay sort of fairly figured out, we were able to start kicking around art ideas with very much a view of figuring out, well, which one of these art ideas solves the problems of the game design the most. The game design has these requirements on art that needs the art to explain things in certain ways and so on. So we knew that if, for instance, we had these 9 different character classes and they had to be very, very visually distinct. When we started looking at things like realistic real-world combat, soldiers all tend to look very similar. They're all trying to, be camouflaged and not easily spotted and so on, which obviously doesn't necessarily make for a fun game. So we were able to take all those sort of requirements from the game design and, list them out and then start looking at different art styles and, take a very objective method of evaluating various art styles until we found one which seemed to help the game design the most.
Alright, some people have felt that there were way too few maps upon the release of Team Fortress 2. Are there going to be any more maps that are going to be put into the works? We do know that the Capture the Flag version of Well was just released recently, but will there be any cool remakes of some of the old maps from Team Fortress Classic, or maybe the ancient Mega Team Fortress from the Quake days?
We've already announced a couple more maps coming out, hopefully sometime in the next month or so. One of which is a sort of a spiritual remake of the old Badlands map, which is I say spiritual, and it's changed pretty significantly, but it does maintain one of the things that made Badlands a lot of fun, which is that sort of quite an amount of height difference in the map, which makes the combat spaces pretty interesting. You're sort of dealing with enemies both above and below you as well as around you. And then we've also announced Gold Rush, which is a map using a new game style that we sort of grew out of thinking about how to take the old hunted map, which we felt was a lot of fun, but never really worked out terribly well on the public space on the internet, thanks to it sort of really relying on one person, the VIP guy, knowing exactly what he's doing. And if you got someone who wasn't so good there, or decided he was going to be a griefer or something, then the whole thing sort of fell apart. And so we've designed Gold Rush to be sort of a hunted style map, in that you have that escorting sort of concept, but without the problem of having to rely on that one person quite so much.
Can you briefly explain some of the upcoming unlockable items that you guys recently announced and the achievements? And also, do you think we may be able to get a hint or two on which classes will be able to get these items?
We don't want to talk too much about the item specifics just yet, because we're still doing a lot of play balancing. That's sort of something we take pretty seriously. Even the overhealer item, the medic gun, that's sort of the word has got out on about. I don't think the actual sort of numeric numbers that have been sort of passed around are necessarily going to stick. We tend to do a lot of testing internally. That's our sort of way of ensuring we don't screw up too much. And so we'll sort of see, you sort of know what things are at the point they ship, and not before, to some extent. The next sort of, I think the Pyro is probably be the next person who gets the achievement pack. Doesn't necessarily mean that's the next person who's going to get the unlockable items. It still remains to be seen, but we've got another 35 Pyro achievements all sort of almost ready to go.
Well, here's something interesting that some people like to point it out, was that there's a lot of alcohol going on within the game. I mean, we see the engineer, he's always lounging around with a drink or two, and the demo man, I mean, the guy's obviously drunk all the time. Can you tell us what these guys are drinking?
I'm not really sure exactly why that's there. I think that sort of more reflects sort of the amount of fun we're having. I think in a lot of cases as we work on TF2, there are a lot of times where you're dealing, we've worked on other products, and there's a lot of times when you think about something that'd be fun to do, but you just kind of know you can't do it. And in TF2 it's not really like that. In a lot of cases those fun, crazy things you think of are the things that are really fun to do, and they work really well. So whether it's the spy wearing little paper masks showing you what he's disguised as, or the demo man lifting up his armor-plated groin and showing you what he's got under there, and so on. I think that's sort of just part of the fun of TF2.